Thank you very much, Abdul Salam Jibril, for that background. Now, to discuss this subject matter, we have with us in the Abuja studios the Registrar of the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, Professor Ishaq Oloyede. Prof, pleasure to have you again on Good Morning Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, also joining this conversation via Zoom from Benin City, that's the capital of Edo State, is Professor Kingsley Omorogiwa. Professor Omorogiwa is chairman of the University Admissions Board at the University of Benin. Pleasure to have you with us this morning. All right.
All right, Chinedu Babalola is a professor of pharmacy and vice chancellor, Christland University, Abeokuta, Ogun State. She joins us via Zoom, all the way from Abeokuta. Professor Babalola, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
And also joining us via Zoom from, all right, we'll expect Professor Lukman Jimo from Kwara State University to join us also in the course of our conversation.
All right, Claire, just to indicate, I mean, we're seeing on our screen just now, Professor Osifo. I'm not quite sure who that identifies, but what we have is Professor Omorogiwa, who is joining this conversation via Zoom. We couldn't get his audio a while ago. You can see him there on the right side of your screen. But assuming he's Professor Osifo, he will get to introduce himself much clearly. Well, you listen to the background report by our correspondent, Abdul Salam Jibril, and at the beginning of this conversation, we did also reference the fact that the Joint Admissions and Matriculations Board last week had a stakeholder engagement at which the board disclosed the enormity of the so-called irregular or illegal admissions, totaling some 706,000 across various tertiary institutions, beginning with the JAMB registrar. Prof, tell us, what is an irregular or illegal admission that we have accumulated over 700,000 over a 4-year period?
Thank you very much. Illegal admission, irregular admission, improper admission, they have so many names and they are qualified for those names, are admissions made outside the laid down principles, agreed laid down principles. Apart from the law establishing each institution and the law establishing JAMB to coordinate, giving us the power to coordinate, that law makes clear that JAMB will do the admission in consultation with the institutions. In interpreting in consultation, we are not just assuming that we are doing it. We want to be seen also as doing it. We institute, the founding fathers of JAMB instituted what is called National Policy Meeting, which is normally chaired by the Honorable Minister in charge of education every year for us to collectively agree on proposals towards admission. And every year that is done, which means it's as agreed by all of us, apart from the statutory responsibility given to JAMB. JAMB establishes a process and procedure, which is national policy involving essentially the board, the Federal Ministry of Education, the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, and the leadership of all the institutions. We agree every year. We table it one after the other. This is your road, this is my road, this is what we will do, how do we do, what's this called? At times, people even castigate us for over-democratizing, because they will be asking us, if you are in charge, why were you consulting, why were you giving? But even after agreeing to such things, any institution that does anything outside the agreed principle had committed a violation, which you can label illegal, improper, fraudulent, under the table, all the bad names appropriate for such an act because it's a violation of not only the law but agreed procedure. That's what we call illegal admission.
Let's dig in a little to understand the context, you know,
Yes.
the rules that are breached. Yeah. You know, what are those rules?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you very much. We all agree that before 2017, what we used to do, even before, prior to that time, earlier than that, there have been various ways. We had a period when we would do what we call faculty admission at JAMB. Every faculty, that is faculty of arts all over the country, will gather somewhere. Social sciences elsewhere had been involved at that stage. And we will all do the admission to humanities. In Kaduna, they call this one humanity panel. They will call that one science panel, medicine panel. They will meet. But in such meeting, it was discovered then that somebody who had been admitted in the art panel may also be admitted in the social science panel because of the fact that you cannot put a strict line. And then it was decided that what they would do is that there will be a panel based on institutions. And they started to say, those of you in the Northeast, you sit down, irrespective of discipline, and that reduced radically the number of people involved. Because when we are doing faculty, but at least there will be 20 persons coming from each institution. So it reduced it to about 3 or 4. And these 4 people will go, you sit down, and you do the admission process. But we still found out that there are still duplication, because somebody who is admitted in an institution in Southwest has also been admitted one way or the other in another institution elsewhere. So what they call panel secretaries, when they return to JAMB, they will now sit down and be calling attention to such duplication and removing them. So that was the situation until 2017. In 2017, we felt, look, there are even better ways of doing this. There were cases of people who were robbed on the way coming for admission because of carrying all these printouts, and robbers would think they were carrying money. And many people had been hurt by this. So what we did was to introduce a way of doing it, which we call CAPS, Central Admission Processing System. These CAPS entails, one of the values of CAPS is that nobody, no other person other than the admission officer, designated admission officer of an institution, can initiate admission. The issue of JAMB gave somebody admission letter. The process is you initiate the admission online by your own admission officer after convincing himself that the person had met all the laid down requirements set up determined by the proprietor of that institution, federal government, state government, and private institutions. So if you look at it, you recommend to your own head, vice chancellor, provost, or rector. And immediately you do that, it's just a moment. Once you initiate it, everybody in the system sees it, including my good self, if I can say I'm good. So, we will see everything. We will be able to know. I could call a vice chancellor and say, your admission officer had recommended 10 candidates to you since last week, but you are doing nothing. Many of them will call and be castigating the admission officer until they realize that it's a system. Once somebody initiates anything, you are in a public place. So the vice chancellor or rector or provost will now recommend to JAMB, looking at it, oh, yes, I agree, because it's the head that will be held responsible. He has his own password to access, and within a minute, he can do that. And within the next moment, it's in JAMB. So nobody needs to move, and we look at it. This person you have recommended, on your ranking table, what number does he fall? Are there people of the same local government who are more qualified that had been left? What's the purpose for appointing. Once we see that the rules as laid down by your institution had been followed, then JAMB approves. That is and once JAMB approves, the candidate is notified by JAMB immediately. And once that is done, the candidate goes to his nearest CBT center. He prints his admission letter. That looks so easy, and it is.
So the irregularity or illegality is in not complying with...
None, in some cases, none of those things were done. Even the candidate will not even take UTME, not to talk of scoring below. If you are talking about, you are talking now, at the time we are talking about 700 and something.
6,000.
Oh, it's close. It's almost over 800 now.
800,000?
As
From your latest
yesterday evening when I cross-checked. One institution sent in at the closing yesterday about 3,000-4,000 that had not been previously.
Sorry, Registrar, sorry, Kingsley, I want you to clarify so that we can understand. Yes. Is it that the irregularity, the illegality is in not complying with the process of allowing JAMB, to give the final certification of admission? Or there are other things that is done that makes that admission illegal?
Anything that is improper is improper. But even in madness, there are categories of madness. There are so there are different categories. You have those that did not even go through anything. They did not obtain any form at all. Yes, UTA, they did not collect any form. And they did not only that they did not collect any form, they had even graduated. Not to say they were in school. Most of those who are raising alarm now, they are candidates who are ready for NYC, but they could not go on NYC because they had been improperly admitted. And we are not talking of prior to 20s, all those who did such before 2017, we agreed at the policy meeting to condone them. That's what we call condonement. What we allowed the universities or Polytechnic or College of Education to do was simply give us indemnity, indemnify JAMB, that you will be held responsible for your claims on this. And they signed. And more, we are almost clearing everybody before 2017. But we are talking of those who were admitted when CAPS had been alive, after the Honorable Minister for Education had directed, because at the policy meeting, apart from decisions that we take, we could take decisions, but by law, the minister could also give directive. But this minister did not give it as merely as directive. He subjected it to discussion, and we collectively took a decision. So you are talking of two things: directive that the minister has the power in law to give, and the fact that we collectively endorsed that from 2017. I was very surprised when these issues started coming up. And why we asked institution, declare what you have done. So I was thinking we would just have 10,000, 11,000. And that was why we were trying to persuade the ministry that there will be people who will not do things properly. We can easily, and the minister said no, all those people should be identified. And we said, oh, some of them had finished their tenure. He said, no. Whether in or out of office, government must sanction those who did. But we were alarmed at the number we have. So when you are now going, we are moving towards 1 million. I wouldn't be surprised if by next week we will not be talking of 1 million in just those 4 years. So that is the problem, and that's what they are doing. Some, they took the UTME, but they did not score enough. Maybe somebody was number 160 or 170, and you have allocation of 50 in the class. There is no way that person could come in. There is no way CAPS will allow such. So you just allow what some institutions would do, they will admit those people as recognized by, and they will be picking all this other. That's a less madness, if we can say it, because that person was minimally, of course he has 5.0 level. It's only that he didn't pass UTME. There are others that even the 5.0 level, the person did not possess the 5.0 level, which is the prima facie qualification. That's why I said there are different grades. And when you ask people, why are you doing this? I can understand some, though I only understand, I don't think it's the right thing to do. There are many state governments that establish institutions without funding them. They simply establish them and abandon them to fend for themselves. They have to pay salary. They have to run this and so. Under that guise, you now have many of them. Somebody who's carrying capacity, an institution whose carrying capacity is 1,000, will now go on and admit over 20,000. And when you ask, well, what is happening? Some will come at night, some will come in the evening. So even proper teaching is not being done because people are looking for how to generate money to run the institutions. So there are people who also do in order to change the proprietors. Because when you do such admission, of course, accountability suffers. So there are many reasons why people do, but for whatever reason, what is illegal is illegal. And what we are saying now, what we have made, what the decision that has been made is, look, disclose. We had published the process and procedure. The first stage is what they are giving to us, they are going to upload themselves. We have given them the institution interface. You will upload that these are the violations I have done within the last 4 years. After uploading that on your portal, then you will ask the candidates to do what they ought to have done initially. And there are three different processes. Somebody who had taken the form initially will not need to go and take another form. All you need to do, this was my registration number when I came in. My offense was simply because I was not processed there, or I was admitted at the University of Ibadan. Then I found out that University of Lagos, I would prefer Lagos, and I therefore went to University of Lagos. Those ones, we will remedy them along that line, because they will have met the minimum. Even those who did not obtain the form at all, each of them, there are different stages, and what they will do to remedy will depend on how they came in the first instance. So we want to be able to rescue only those people who at the time of entry had the primary, the prima facie qualification to come into the university, i.e. those that have the required 5 credits and who appropriately, not somebody who studied medicine without biology and will now come, have graduated, and you say, no, yes, 3 years later, or 5 years later, or now, I have been able to pass the biology. You didn't pass the biology at the point that you require the knowledge. So you can't base anything on nothing. So at the time you were admitted, you did not have the qualification. So all these, we will now be able to sieve out those we can rescue. But those who are not qualified, because a parent was saying, my child, after graduation, you force the guy to now go and take UTME and start medicine again. You have to start. You have to start because at the time you read the medicine that you claim you had read, you did not have the requirements, biology, that is central to, I am not the one who prescribed it. People say biology was necessary. If today you write and say biology is no longer necessary, mine is to implement it. I'm simply, some of the Yorubas to say what concern Agbero with overload. My whole is only just to invite customers and get the job done.
You know, Professor Oloyede, let's just remind our viewers that the JAMB Registrar, Professor Isaac Oloyede, is the former Vice Chancellor of the University of Ilorin. And that the numbers that we're talking about earlier on, we're reporting 706,000. Now he's saying that as at last night, it's climbing to around about 800,000. Those 800,000 numbers do not relate all to universities. Polytechnics and colleges of education are also impacted. As at by the time we got our last figures, nearly 500,000 were for polytechnics. But he will provide more insight into the disaggregated figures as the conversation rolls on. Let's bring in now our guest whom we earlier introduced via Zoom, Professor Kingsley Omorogiwa, Chairman of the University Admissions Board at the University of Benin. If it's there, Professor Omorogiwa.
Yes, please. Good morning.
All right, good morning. Nice to have you again on Good Morning Nigeria after a long while. I just want you listened, of course, to part of what Professor Oloyede has disclosed and the genuine concerns that stakeholders have about what has been branded illegal or irregular admissions. How does all of this play out?
Thank you once again. Good morning, Nigeria. The admission process, as it were, as regulated by JAM, the rules are basically clear. But just like the registrar said, the challenges of running the institutions have made some institutions to be involved in what is now referred to as irregular admission or illegal admission. As it were, the rules should be followed, and efforts should be made to see that the students are well informed as to what the rules are. Because when some of these institutions go out shopping for students, they may not tell them the rules as it were. So the students may not be aware. So I think on this part, just as the institutions and the admission officers are being informed as to what is necessary, it is good to also have information given to the candidates so that they know that, well, JAMB is the only body that is approved to regulate admissions, and all admissions must be done through JAMB and through the JAMB cards. That if anyone tells you that you can be admitted without going through that process, you should see that as irregular and may even be a scam. So seeing that this is so, once the candidates are well informed, I'm sure that the problem of regular admission will be a lot addressed. Institutions must take responsibility and make sure that the rules that are already laid down are duly followed. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Omorogiwa. Let's also bring in Professor Chinedu Babalola of Chrisland University, Abeokuta. She's Vice Chancellor. Earlier, we introduced her on the program. If she's there now via Zoom, joining us from Abeokuta, Professor Chinedu Babalola. Again, let's have your take on this. Chrisland, of course, is a private school, and from the data generated by JAMB on account of the willing confessions by the various institutions, some private institutions have also been implicated. To just say exactly what is your understanding of this irregular and illegal admission?
Yes, thank you very much. We've all listened to the registrar, who is our key regulatory officer on this. And I think he has expatiated it very well. But I also want to say that it is not in all the cases that the students are not qualified. And that's why there is that window to correct the anomalies. For me, I want to believe that in 2017, when the CAPS was introduced, it's possible that many people did not understand it or were not aware of the processes. So they fell into the trap. But for me, as an academic, as a vice chancellor, anyone that is admitted who does not have the requirement, that will be an illegal admission. But with the establishment of caps, I think that window to correct those that were admitted who did not follow that due process, howbeit they are qualified, they should be permitted and forgiven or given opportunity to graduate. And so from now on, the awareness will be so glaring with this publication. I'm sure nobody wants his or her name mentioned. And I want to say that with the introduction of CAPS, it has made life easy. That's digitizing and cleaning up and making admission process very transparent. And I would say that people
All right. I think we've, yes, she's back now.
Are you talking to me?
Yes, please continue.
Yes, I have zero tolerance for any that.
All right, Professor Chinedu Babalola is joining us via Zoom from Abeokuta. We hope to that the connection will be clearer when we return to her. But let's come back to the studio here where the registrar is. Does this provision in any way interact with the autonomy of the institutions, the various institutions?
If anything, as a former vice chancellor, I would think that it is CAPS that has restored the autonomy of the institution on admission. I have been on the other side, if there is any other side, if there is indeed, because in Nigeria we always divide ourselves unnecessarily. If there is other side, I have been on the other side. And I know that we used to oppose the process whereby we would just sit down and unknown to us without consultation, some people will bring admission letter. We will protest, but eventually we had little or nothing to do. I couldn't have been on that side and be part of the protestants and get to this other side, if it can be so called, and then be perpetrating the same thing that I suffered. It will be satanic. So I also have reason of being part of the process for making sure that because there is nowhere in the world that no matter the process, no matter the procedure, that the institution does not have a say, a major say in how to admit. Any institution should be able to say, since 2017, there is one case of anybody admitted. If I, as a JAMB registrar, if I want, I need a favor, I need to be my child to be admitted, I must go to the admission officer of that institution. And not only that everything is blocked down, we still allow some discretionary power. We are conscious that there are sportsmen. Sportsmen, you want to attract them to your university. They may not be the highest scorer, but you must give the reason. This sportsman is a good goalkeeper, is number 160 on my list. And therefore, I'm picking him. That's why the father is number 160 and I'm picking 40. But you must document it. That's what people are running away from, because it can be verified. You saw what happened in the US recently when many were jailed for use on admission process. But what did they do? What they did was to use some subterfuge to gain unnecessary advantage in the admission process. You know, in that case in the US, the students were not jailed though. The lecturers were not jailed. It's the parents who made the claim, and many of them prominent people, they were sent to jail. So on this admission process, what we are saying is that we allow people to, but you must document. I've always been giving this example of an institution in LASU, a particular course. We saw that here is number 1 to, in ranking, number 1 to 50 to study nursing. And the university simply recommended number 150 to be one of the 50. And we queried it, say no, this one cannot go because there are people from the same local government and so on. And the university put it there, that look, if you look at all of them, they are women. This is the first man. We don't want an all-women class. That is reasonable. You see, that some women are to be jumped in order to have an inclusive class. It will be there, but God willing, 100 years to come, the name of the vice chancellor will be there. The reason he gave will be there. Nobody can eliminate. But JAMB will then approve. If anybody asks us, why did you do that? Because we are moving to a stage now that we will connect our system with the anti-corruption agency's platform. That instead of coming to me that I'm due for admission, I'm not admitted, you simply report to the security. And since they have the interface, they check. And if it is so, they will call the person who nominated and the person who approved and say, look, this is a person who genuinely ought to be admitted. Why did you jump him? So it's not, we are even at the stage that we are still appealing to ourselves. By the time it becomes a criminal offense, like it was, like it happened in the US, then it will become another problem. But people are saying, don't let us wash our dirty linens. Why would you have dirty linens in the first instance? So I think, yes. So I think the best thing to do is for us to do the right thing and start to do the right thing so that people who we are supposed to guide will not begin to guide us.
Okay. All right, Professor Lloyd, thank you very much. Let's return to the other two guests. Still with us via Zoom, the prof from University of Benin, Professor Omorogiwa. Professor Omorogiwa, I mean, considering the numbers that we are dealing with here, how does a candidate who is now a student, probably 100 level or final year, know or understand that he or she has an irregular or illegal admission?
Yeah, first, the issue of irregular admission, the candidates who are being offered this admission may be aware that it's irregular, but because the institution have assured them that they will take care of it, then they are at peace. They first and foremost, I'm sure that most candidates already know that the way to be admitted to any institution is through JAMB. And they should have applied to JAMB and then chosen that institution. And then the selection process starts, and they are also offered admission by JAMB. But you see, the issue of trying to survive for some of these institutions make them to initiate the process of illegal admission, telling the students that they will take care of it. And there's no way the students will find out, except, of course, sometime when these issues are not being brought up to the public space as it is. Sometimes these students come to know when they are trying to apply for NYSC, and they say they don't have records, as it were. So I think the sensitization should be on the part of the board, the admissions board, to let the candidates know. And then when it becomes a common knowledge to everyone, I'm sure that that will be a thing of the past. But for as it is now, for the candidate or a student who have been admitted and now has spent 3 years or even the 4th year at the university and have been coping, as it were, to be told that your admission is irregular, then because of that, the student forfeits that admission. When the students have fulfilled the five credits that is needed and the relevant subjects, I think that will be extreme. So in my position, in my opinion, I think that if such irregular admission have taken place, and then it has been there for a while, and the students have been in school, there should be a way to grant such students soft landing if they had the 5 credits that's required at the point of admission, so that we don't have situations where the students become so distressed and their families are distressed, as it were, And they are not the main culprits of this problem, because if the institutions didn't guarantee them that they will be able to help them regularize, I'm sure they will not have submitted to that. So I think that for all these large numbers, we must distinguish between those or differentiate between those who have the relevant qualification to read the course that they have been applied to read, that they have been admitted to read, even though it be irregular, and then let them be allowed to complete that program and let the regularization process be done with JAM. But for those who do not have the prerequisites, I mean, they should be told to go, because like in my university, we do screening at 2 levels. At the point of entering, we will check. We call that clearance. By the end of 200 level, or when the students come in for 300 level, we do another screening. If for any reason the earlier process was compromised by anyone, it is found out. And the screening committee members are not known. They are not in the public space. They work as if they are secret agents. And whatever result they bring is what we stand by. So as it were, the issue of candidates or students having the entry requirements should be treated as sacrosanct. And that should be a reason to allow those ones who are already in school at the moment. So I think that is the way forward. That we can't send all of them away, knowing that they are not the people who admitted themselves into those institutions. The institutions should, whatever efforts that will be made to ensure that institutions do not continue with this. Let there be a deadline that says, well, for all these ones that are backlogged, we give this condition of those who are qualified. We allow them in, and then JAM regularizes them. But thereafter, let it be known that anyone who does that, the knowledge is not in the public domain. And I think with that, this issue can be addressed and done away with. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Professor Omoro Giwa, of course, Chairman, University Admissions Board, University of Benin. Thank you. I know that the registrar will want to say 1 or 2 things, but registrar, let me just put you on hold and also go back to Professor Chinedu Babalola. Professor Chinedu Babalola, is your university one of the born-agains with regards to this issue of admission? And if not, give us an idea of how, what your admission process is like.
Yes, thank you very much. I hope you can hear me now. Yes, our university is changing. We had very few students affected by this irregularity, and all of them were qualified. We've not admitted anyone that is not qualified. The only time that happened, you know, the admission didn't go through anyway. So the few that are affected, we've been able to effect the corrections. But right now, I can tell you that 95% of all the students who've admitted right now, they've been cleared and have their JAMB admission in the university. So for me, like I said, we have zero tolerance for anything that is not quality or anything that is illegal. I want to believe that those few cases, howbeit they are all qualified, happened because of maybe a lack of awareness on both sides. For instance, I assumed office as a vice chancellor in 2017. And I must tell you, when you become a VC, the more you attend the policy meetings, the better you are. And I've thoroughly enjoyed the policy meetings and the growth that JAMB is doing. But I think a lot has to do with awareness for students, for parents, for everybody. But now that it's been digitized, I think it's even impossible for you to cheat. Like we have a selection process. We go through the guidelines before we even allow the students to be processed for admission. So for now, I think we are okay. We are 100% neat. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Babalola. I like that. It's neat. So, Professor Oloyede, you wanted to respond to?
Thank you very much. 2 things. I like my sister saying that she's neat, and I like that type, because that's the reason why one should not do anything under the table. You'll be able to beat your chest and talk to anybody and say, look, my friend, this is what I have done. People can make mistakes, but the mistake will appear as mistake, not when. Now, I had wanted to just say that the chairman admission committee from Benin, I agreed totally with everything I said, and VC Chrisland, I also agree with them. The only thing I disagree with violently too is the use of word regularization. That's what created the problem. When somebody is doing something that is improper, it's not good, and you say, you use a sort of terminology that reduces the weight, how can you regularize an illegal thing? So I believe that that's why in 2017, we changed the name because we saw that students will come. I want to regularize my admission. I want to regularize my admission. Regularize what? I know I was not regularly admitted, and therefore I want to regularize. I said, no, let that. So we changed the name to Condonement of Illegal Admission. And since 2017, we have been sending indemnity to people. That what you want to do is not regularization. I hate that word for the whole thing. We have changed it to, if you see the form, indemnity since 2017, for previous years, we call it Condonement of Illegal Admission. And what is there is that I, Vice Chancellor, hereby agree that indemnify JAM against the illegal admission that I do, that if the condonement is made, I will be held responsible. If it's found, because what we are saying is simple. There are many other institutions where the candidate did not even attend the institution. The candidate will just go, I want to go on NYC. Somebody will cook up the story, collect the appropriate money, and mobilize the person through admission. The whole thing, that's why I said there are different stages of madness. And what we are talking about is a serious thing. We have cases. DGNYC brought cases of candidates who cannot write in letters 1 to 10. That is, they cannot write ONE 1, TW, writing 2 as TU, writing 3 as TRE, writing 4 as F, as V, VO, so something like that. And they attended English-speaking universities. And when further, we discovered that he did not attend any university. Somebody just cook the whole thing. I want to go on NYC. There are many people that had been arrested at that level. We cannot allow people to bastardize the system to this level. And you can see the embarrassment that will give to. Go to anywhere in the world today. They are looking for Nigerian students because they are top on the class. That's why when people denigrate our institution, they are top. I just look at them, irrespective of global ranking or anything. Tell me of any first-class institution in the world today where you have graduates of the university, Nigerian university system, that they are not top 10. Tell me anyone. I've been to many parts of the world, and I've seen that there, in 90% of the cases, Nigerian students, graduates of the university system that you all denigrate, they are this, they don't have water, they don't have, maybe the process of brutalizing them has strengthened them up. When you go to UK, go and see those who graduate, either at master's level, PhD level, and you will see the Nigerians there. You can be proud of the Nigerian university system or tertiary education system. I can say this anywhere. I was at in a place, I think that was shortly before COVID, somewhere in Europe. And there were about 104 in the class. There were 3 Nigerians. And the 3 Nigerian, one is the best in the class, was the best. The other one is number 3, and the other one is number 4. in the class. And the 3 of them were graduates of, one of them was a graduate of one private university, Covenant, and the others, one from Ibadan, one from BUK. And these are, they can, we will be proud. I went there as a guest speaker, and I abandoned the lecture to share part of the glory of the nation. That look, oh, you people, you come here, they came from about 60 different universities across the world. 60. And that Nigerians was the highest number of citizens that Nigeria had, 4 of them. So the point I'm making is that we are doing a lot here, and a lot Nigerians are, but there are these few people. Unfortunately, good things don't sell. Things that you sell in Nigeria, even when we copy ourselves, when you see good things from the north, when the south people are to they will pick only the bad things in the north. When northerners want to pick what they want to pick from the south, you will see them picking what is bad. When you go to some of the marriage ceremonies in the north today, you will weep because they have southernized the dressing of their ladies, that you'll be wondering whether you are in somewhere else. So we pick only the bad thing from one another. So people pick the bad ones about us, and they keep on saying Nigeria. Recently, one important president of one country was talking in his country, and he was saying when it comes to drug, Nigerians, I felt bad mentioning Nigeria as part of such.
Prof.
Yes.
Prof. I mean, we appreciate your passion, and of course, the whole idea of dealing with irregular or illegal admission is to sanitize the process so that we get the most qualified persons to get into our tertiary institutions. But there are still some knotty issues that we need to clarify, because I know that JAMB has also spoken about some of the practices. There is a body known as JUPEP. Yes. That's Joint Universities Preliminary Examinations Board. There is also IJMBE, that is Interim Joint Matriculation Examinations Board. What is the relationship between JAMB and these institutions, and how do they compound these whole problems that we're talking about?
Yes, you know that we have our problem is complex. Yes, our problem is complex, you see, because we used to have whatever 5-2, 6-5-2. That is 6 at the primary school, 5 at secondary school, 2 at HSC before you have 3 at the. Then we changed it to 6-4, 6. What do you call 6? 4-3. What do you call it now?
6. I think it's 6-6-4.
6-3-3-4.
6-3. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. 6-3-3-4.
6-3-3-4. Yes, we now have 6-3-3-4, where we merge 6 and 3 together, and that's the basic education. Then we have senior education. Then we have 4, which is for the university. Now, there is no room for 2 again. That is, it's assumed that everybody will come in at 100 level, because there is no 2. The 6-5-2-3 had become 6-3-3-4. So there is no room for A level. Yes. But we are still admitting candidates for A level. And these 2 agencies, direct entry, who come in at 200 level, though they are no longer in the structure, realizing that they are important, what has been done is that IJMB, it was interim. It was to rake up. That's why it's called interim. To do it in the interim, but it has become permanent. So the interim was to rake such people, and in the southern part of Nigeria, they have what they used to call foundation courses, foundation programs. Every institution having this foundation, some call it remedial program. But in 2011, the Minister of Education, through the NCC, said, look, the quality, JAMB complained then that the quality of these foundation courses were suspect. And therefore, what should be done? What should be done is let's put them together. Instead of each institution conducting foundation courses, and UNILAG was asked to coordinate them, the foundation courses in the southern part of Nigeria. That's generally speaking. It's not so. It's not that compartmentalized or not. For instance, University of Ilorin offers IJMB, also offers JUPEB. So it's not, even if you call Ilorin not, it's offering JUPEB. If you say it's in the geographically south, it's also offering IJMB. So it's not a straight jacket thing, but generally that's just what it to be. But what is in the involvement of, in each case, JAMB had been asked at the statutorily, right from the establishment of IJMB, JAMB moderates the question, appoint moderator for the exam, moderate the question, moderate the marking of the grades and the result. Professor, JAMB is also on their board. The same thing for JUPEB. But what we are having now, what ICPC did, and the outcome of what ICPC did was so embarrassing, even to JAMB, because it shows clearly that we were not doing enough.
Prof,
yes.
we've really run out of time, but just in less than 30 seconds, yes. What is the punishment for offenders, from for the past 4 years?
I'm not in position. I don't even want them punished. I want them to stop and rectify it so that we will not do it again. But the minister, I'm not the Minister of Education. I know the position of the government is that there will be sanction. What sanction will be, I don't know. But what I can say, and why we are here, why we are begging people to listen properly now, is that let it be stopped while we try to do what Professor, the chairman of University of Benin said. Let's see those who are good among the bad and then sieve them out so that we don't throw away the baby with the bathing water.
Okay, well, thanks. I mean, it's we have a second topic for discussion. I don't know, we are pressed, we're already out of time. But Prof, I'm just wondering, why is it that polytechnics are more in number in terms of these irregularities?
Yes,
very briefly. Yes.
The problem is just, I think, survival. Go and look at them. Except for 3 major universities, Jos, Calabar, and UNN.
UNN?
Yes, Jos, Calabar, UNN, Wukari, and Dusima. These are just the federal universities among the lot that were involved. But when you go to the polytechnics, federal polytechnics are one of the major culprits. You go and look at the figure. So we are trying to interrogate and see why was that. But the truth of the matter, of course, the large chunk of this figure that we are talking about were from the polytechnics. And you know that the polytechnics now, they are doing all sorts of things there now. Many polytechnics offer degree through affiliation. Some of them also offer NCE, in addition to the ND. So it has become sort of anything goes. So as a result of that, maybe survivor instinct for whatever reason. But whatever it is the case, out of this number, you have over almost 500,000 coming from the polytechnic sector.
Okay,
so
sorry,
yes.
I'm afraid I have to cut you. Let's quickly get the final thoughts from our guests who are joining us via Zoom. Professor Chinedu Babalola, you are NEET now going forward. So what more would you want JAMB to do in order to sanitize the process?
Yes, I think there should be continuous training, continuous awareness by JAMB, maybe on their portal, both to students, to parents, to university administrators and admission officers. Awareness to me is very important. And of course, sanction. I mean, hearing that some institutions are actually offering programs they are not qualified to. Polytechnics offering degrees. I think that is unheard of. I think there should be in sanctions that will really, really be effective. In that way, both students and all those involved will sit up. I mean, he has said so many things that are really awful to hear about. For me, I will continue to maintain quality. I'll continue to go continue to abide by the rules and regulations of JAM.
All right, Professor Chinedu Babalola, Professor of Pharmacy and Vice Chancellor, Chrisland University, joining us via Zoom from Abeokuta, Ogun State. I'd like to thank you very much for your perspectives. Let's take a final thought from Professor Kingsley Omorogiwa, Chairman, University Admissions Board. Prof, your final perspective?
Well, I think the process of solving the problem is on. It has to do with awareness, just like the Vice Chancellor just spoke about. Once the students are aware and the parents are aware, and then the institutions are made to know that there could be sanctions for such behaviors, I'm sure that this will be a thing of the past. And I want to commend the Registrar of JAM for his efforts to make sure that their admission process is seamless. The CAPS has been quite wonderful, and we should all abide by it and follow the rules. It is easier to follow the rules than to bend it.
All right, Professor Kingsley Omorogiwa, Chairman, University Admissions Board, thank you. And let me also, on your behalf, thank the JAM Registrar, Professor Ishak Oloyede. Thank you very much, not just for being here, but for all that you do as well.
I thank you very much for having me.
All right, you're watching Good Morning Nigeria. Let's go for a short break. When we come back, we have a second topic.
COVID-19, that is the black swan of the century, has actually hit the whole world very hard, even the strongest of economies, and Nigeria was not spared. But due to the proactive stance and steps that the president has taken, we've been able to come out quickly. The president has consistently said we must invest in infrastructure. Even as we're investing in human capital, that we must invest in infrastructure, because at the end of the day, that is what will bring about a sustainable economic growth. So the president has given us our directive. He has said you must make sure you pay salaries and pay pensions, but you also make sure that the critical projects of roads, railway, airports, bridges, major infrastructure that are meant to drive the growth of the economy, that we consistently invest in them, even if we have to continue to borrow to do so.
This message is from the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Finally, the hero of Nigeria's democracy has arrived. He shall usher us into a new phase of development, peace, and prosperity. He is the father of the new Nigeria, His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR. Welcome to another season of giving Nigerians hope yet again. We are sure of a great future for both ourselves and generations yet unborn. We look forward to your leading us as a nation into our manifest destiny. Though the challenges against us as a people are many, we know that your leadership shall set us on the right path to our greatness. A new dawn beckons on us all, and having you as our president is a precursor to this. Thank you for believing in Nigeria. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
We are all Nigerians. Against all odds, we shall and must remain united. We may have our challenges, our problems, and setbacks. However, together we shall overcome them all. What doesn't break us shall make us stronger. This is the mindset that shall bring peace, progress, and prosperity to our beloved country. Do not let tribal and religious sentiments govern how you think, act, or feel. Don't be influenced by those who want to destroy our precious national unity. Everybody who is a Nigerian is your brother and your sister. This is the mindset of the new Nigeria. It is also the mindset that we must all adopt. Let us support each other in creating the Nigeria of our dreams. This message is from the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.